What's up? It's your boy D. I'm here with my man Tony, and today we got a special guest. It's Dr. Ortiz. He's a man of many talents. He's done some extraordinary things. So, better late than never. Here's Dr. Ortiz.
All right, yeah, he plays basketball. He's a reverend. He marries people. It's awesome. Best thing is, he's just a great guy. All right. Hey, Devon, how's it going?
Going well. Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. We're excited for you to be on. So what you been up to lately?
Well, I'm a pastor at Victory Baptist Church, and been since the doors have been closed because of all the COVID-19. We've been doing a lot of meetings like this. I've been doing teaching on Facebook and YouTube, and several different churches have, I've been speaking with them, and really right now one of the big things is just trying to bring people some sort of peace and try to help out the community that way.
That's awesome. Go D.
I mean, you're doing the Lord's work right now, man. I mean, with everything going on, like, the craziness in the streets and the COVID-19, issues and things like that. People are dealing with things like addiction, depression. You know what I'm saying? A lot of mental health issues. Also, last time I checked, I believe it's mental awareness month. So, with that being said, you're doing a lot more than you should be doing, but we're never mad that you are. You know what I'm saying? So, all in all, we appreciate you for doing the extra work and putting your foot to the pavement, and make sure you're helping out these folks.
Definitely. That's actually one of the biggest things that I've been dealing with in these past 2 months is like right now, I'm in my office right now. I dealt with people with depression. I had, in fact, was it Thursday? I finished a devotional where I was going over just teaching faith. And in the midst of that devotion, I kept getting a phone call. It was a former church member that lives in Missouri, who his son committed suicide, and just talking to him because he was considering to commit suicide, and how difficult that whole situation is, just being alone and isolated, trying to stay safe, and yet we don't feel safe. Right.
Another thing, going to where not feeling safe and everything happening. What are your thoughts on the whole Mr. Floyd situation out in Minneapolis?
It's unfortunate, and to say unfortunate is such a understatement, because the big issue here is just decency of human life. More than a race issue, more than anything, it's taking someone's life and being so careless with it. Yeah. And I have a lot of good relationships with police officers, and most police officers have a sincere care about what they're doing. Now, anywhere you go, and you've been to different jobs, we play ball at the gym all the time.
Oh yeah.
There's always that one jerk. There's always that one guy who's the exception to the rule, and we need to, as a country, we need to figure out how to educate. We need to uproot, and we need to completely restructure our system so that racism can be something that is wiped away from existence. Because we've been dealing with this for way too long. To think that Martin Luther King would walk the streets and protest for the very things that we're fighting with today, that's just unbelievable.
Go ahead, D. What are your thoughts?
I've been fighting back a lot of emotions with this whole situation going on. And don't get me wrong, I'm a pretty strong person when it comes to things like this. But to sit there and watch a video of a man pressing his kneecap, his shin, nonetheless, on a man's neck for 7 minutes, and to watch him lose consciousness. And I just seen a video of them beating this man in the back of a cop car, then pressing him on camera and making it seem like, oh no, this is just a random arrest. Like, to see that, bro, like, I've been through situations, like, not necessarily to that extent, because I'm still here with my life, but to see things like that, and just to know that they're still going on, Like, the fact that we even had to be in segregation, let alone slavery, like all these extremities to like police black people, like it's not fair. And it's not even that it's not fair. Like you said, it's a human right to be who you want to be. And I shouldn't be treated different because of my skin color. So for me to see everything that's going on in America, as far as the riots, the looting, the stealing, it's running off of pure. I'm tired of this. I'm tired of being treated like this. I'm tired of being beat. I'm tired of being told I got to do 100% of what they do just to get half of what they get. I'm tired of being told, oh, you got to go to the back of the line. I'm tired of being told this seat's taken. I'm tired of being told you can't vote. We're tired of it. We're tired of it. Whether we're past it or not, that's what we have to deal with. So when you sit up here and tell us, oh, you're an American. No, I'm not. If I was an American, I wouldn't have to deal with these things.
Right.
So at the end of the day, it's pain, hurt, hatred, and anger coming behind the looting, stealing, robbing, and protesting. We tired of being silent. We want to be heard. And when you want to be heard, you have to go to the extremities. I'm not saying it's okay. I'm not saying it's right. But sometimes you feel as if that's what you got to do in order to be heard.
Make a point.
Exactly.
Yeah. My take is like, it's just like, I've talked to multiple police officers, some in Alaska, some who work for LAPD. And they said they're sick to their stomach. That's not what they actually signed up for the actions that he did. And he's like, how they said that they trained them that way. That's not something you train. That's just something like the parents that raised him put him like in that mentality, right? Like, and that's not good. That's not cool at all. And that whole force should be ashamed of themselves. To be honest, like I just couldn't believe what I was watching when I was watching those videos. It just got me sick to my stomach. You know what I mean? Since let's have a moment of silence for him and his family, because especially what they're going through. I can't even think of what they're going through. That's how much sickening it is. You know. So,
it's rough.
You guys want to do a moment of silence for the Floyd family?
Definitely.
Yeah, it's only right.
Okay. All right. Yeah, that's a tough situation. Another situation that really came up was since we're on the topic kind of like of people passing, Jerry Sloan, one of the best coaches of all time, passed away. Had a couple illnesses at the same time, so I know toward his life it was
Open the door.
a little rough. What did you think about Jerry Sloan and his legacy? Not just as a coach, but also a player with the Chicago Bulls back in the day.
You know what? I was never a big fan of Jerry Sloan, because his teams were always good. You know, the Utah Jazz, no matter what the roster was, they were always something that you always had to worry about, because you knew they were going to be well coached. You knew they were going to be scrappy. You knew that they were going to fight for everything they got. And, you know, I truly believe that, you know, John Stockton was an incredible point guard. But I believe that Jerry Sloan set up a system that made John Stockton that much better.
Right.
Karl Malone was a tremendous power forward. But I believe, he was a power forward. But the thing was, if you look at the way he played, he honestly, Jerry Sloan set up that system so that he can get the most out of him, because Karl Malone, as strong as he was, he built in a jump shot in Karl Malone's game. He built in other things that when he had to face guys like Shaq or Sabonis and guys like that can push him around, he figured out a better way to get around them and to score. And Jerry Sloan was one of those guys that, as great as he was, he made you despise him if you didn't like the Utah Jazz.
Yeah.
And that's just a little something to his credit, because he was that good of a coach, and he was impressive all the way, even to his last year. Now, he did struggle a little bit with Darren Williams towards the end, but I think that's because he was kind of coaching outside of his generation. It was a different type of league at that point, and I don't think he was used to it. And I think he knew it's time for me to step aside at that time. But Jerry Sloan's always been an incredible coach, someone you never wanted to face, and kind of hard nosed. You know, he was gonna. He was always going to give you the truth, whether you liked it or not.
Yeah. Good.
I mean, as far as Jerry Sloan is concerned, I never really grew up with his coaching. You know, I'm 26, so in the 90s, his heyday was around that time. But as I've gotten older, you know, playing 2K and, you know, running simulations and, you know, even watching The Last Dance, which is another topic we're going to touch on. He was Popovich before Popovich. Even though Popovich was around in the 90s, he was the Popovich of the 80s and the 70s. You know, when he was really coaching and really putting his carbon footprint in the NBA. And when I watch him, when I watch like his players play, like Karl Malone, John Stockton, and a few other players that played on the Utah Jazz. Forgive me if I don't remember names, but he trained each player for every position. That's how I look at it when I see his team on the court.
Mm-hmm.
The center's not just playing for center. They're looking at it like, oh, well, if the center is out and the point guard's injured, we're going to bring the center in. He's going to play point guard, because that's how he coached. I want to make sure everybody's ready for any and everything. You know what I'm saying? Like, his coaching revolved around the whole team. So when you see the Utah Jazz play against the Chicago Bulls with Michael Jordan on them and they're giving them a run for their money, don't be surprised. Look at their coach. That tells you everything you need to know. So with that being said, I honestly believe that if they had another piece, Jerry Sloan would have that one ring, and John Stockton would be pushed as the greatest point guard of all time over, you know. But that's neither here nor there.
Right. Yeah, like for Jerry Sloan, like I see kind of like what you were saying, hard-nosed, tough. Like you talk about Greg Popovich, Riley, when he was with the Lakers, and then more towards the Knicks is his mindset, just toughness. You see that a lot, because I was watching an interview where they were talking about Jerry Sloan, and they're like, players were like, if you were talking mess to their players, Jerry Sloan will be like trying to be cussing you out from the sideline. Like that's just not like how he was. And like
Jerry Sloan was a low-key jerk. Like he like, I like how you said he was like a Popovich type. He wasn't really that likable. But if you played for him, you liked him.
Oh yeah. Yeah, and if you think about this, even as a player, he has his jersey retired with the Bulls, and then obviously as a coach, gonna get that. I think he got it retired with the Utah Jazz, but that Utah Jazz team, I mean Malone, Stockton, of course, big duo. Then you even had Jeff Hornacek there, like he was a problem too. Like he was a problem. But yeah, we just want to send our condolences out to that Sloan family as well. So
we hope all is well, man, because you know, with everything going on, a lot of people losing their lives and all this nonsense going on.
Yeah,
you know.
Now let's brighten up the mood, right?
Let's brighten up the mood, baby.
All right, let's really get into we had to get into the important takes, but let's get into the fun takes. The Last Dance. What did you think about that, Devon?
You know what? I was watching the director's cuts where the director was talking about the behind the scenes of trying to get, for instance, when he had Kobe on there.
Oh,
trying to get
my sweater. My bad.
Trying.
Did it freeze?
No, you're good. But when he was trying to get Kobe to just divulge some of those things between he and Jordan and that All-Star game, and how difficult it was to get any answers out of Kobe. because Kobe kind of went into it kind of like it was a game. You're gonna have to earn these answers. You're gonna have to try to get these things.
Right.
And then, but then on the other side, you had Jordan. Jordan, the whole Last Dance, it seemed like he was trying to prove that he's better than LeBron.
Yeah.
Like just the timing of this, the fact that the Lakers are they're definitely a threat for a championship this year, and the fact that everyone's talking about how LeBron is so skilled in all these areas, and it almost seems as if he's trying to say, hey, remember me? Remember 6 straight? Remember I never faced a game 7?
Yeah.
Remember, or I shouldn't say 6 straight, 6 in a row, or 6 championships rather, 3 peats. But, just the fact that it almost seemed like he was on, look, LeBron, look, you don't got anything on me. And that's what it kind of felt like. Yeah. But in watching it, you realize one thing. Jordan wasn't anything without the cast around him.
That's true.
The Dennis Rodmans, the Scottie Pippens, the Steve Kerrs, the Horace Grant, the Phil Jackson. You needed that whole unit in order to make him. Now, he's a star, and he is incredible. But what made him incredible was he had threats around him that while they may not be as talented, they were skilled in what they were going to do. Yeah. Steve Kerr just being available to take that shot. Scottie Pippen to be able to take the load from him when he needed just that second, that rob into being the Batman. Phil Jackson to be able to be smart enough to say, all right, Dennis, go ahead and take your time in Vegas, but come back. All that stuff, that was all needed in order for Jordan to be Jordan. And I'm not a LeBron homer. I'm not a big – I like LeBron. I think I'm impressed with who LeBron is. But LeBron hasn't had the same cast as Jordan.
Yeah.
And when we make these comparisons between LeBron and Jordan, Kobe, and whoever else, we're missing out the X factors behind it. And Jordan had everything. He had the special sauce.
I have a question for you. You talking about Phil Jackson? Because before Phil Jackson, Doug Collins. Let me ask: if Phil Jackson never was a coach, does Kobe and MJ win championships?
Yes. Do they win as many? No.
Right. That's what I was thinking.
I think they would have, just on talent alone, they would have won at least one of that first three-peat. That second three-peat, I could see them winning 2, maybe not 3 in a row, but I could see them winning 2 just on the talent alone. I mean, Dennis Rodman is a freak of nature. I mean, this guy, who does that? 20 boards, 1 point. And then he's going to run the floor. He's going to give you all this energy. Who does that? Like
Dennis Rodman is 100% the perfect example of, I'm tired. I've had 2 hours of sleep, but this Red Bull is going to get me going. Dennis Rodman is the Red Bull of the Chicago Bulls. Like, there's no other way to look at it. Dennis Rodman is that guy. Oh, man, I'm having a really bad day. I can't stand my job right now. You're talking all this mess during lunch break. Then, boom, Dennis Rodman comes to the door. Guess what I got for lunch? A ham and cheese sandwich. Why are you so excited about a ham and cheese sandwich? Because I made it. Well, my mama made it. Then you just go into a tangent. 20 minutes later, you're pumped up. You're ready to go type your ass off as soon as you get into that office. Dennis Rodman is the emotion, the power, the energy, the love, the emotion of the Chicago Bulls. Mm-hmm. And then you get Michael Jordan. When it comes to Michael Jordan and his whole, dichotomy of success, yes, you can't forget the other players. You can't forget the other players. But like Ortiz just said, he had the special sauce. He had everything that he needed. His team, he had the dog before he became a dog. You see what I'm saying? He had that dog when he made that final shot when he was in UNC. He was in North Carolina. He had that dog then, and that's the difference between him and LeBron. LeBron never really had that opportunity to play in college or none of that. He went straight from high school to the NBA. So when you try to compare the two, there's no need to. Differentiate that. Understand that man has his own legacy, and he has his own legacy. Now, if they have similar careers, 100, at least 75 to 85%, then we have a talking point.
Yeah.
But for him to have 3 rings and can be compared to somebody that has 6, that says a lot about that man's game.
Mm-hmm. What did you think about Jerry Krause and that whole situation with both Jerrys, I should say?
Jerry Krause, I think now I grew up in the 90s with the whole Bulls thing and everything. No one really liked Jerry Krause, but Jerry Krause was an incredible general manager.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he was he conniving? Yes. Was he, skeevy? Yes. Was he too tender about the whole Phil Jackson thing? Yeah. But he has the proof. He's the one smart enough to be able to say, we want Scottie Pippen. He's the one smart enough to be able to say, hey, let's get a Dennis Rodman. Let's get a BJ Armstrong in here, and let's get he put these pieces together.
Yeah.
And so Phil Jackson's great, but if Phil Jackson doesn't have any talent to work with, they're not winning anything. Michael Jackson's great, but if he doesn't have the talent to help him out, they're not winning anything.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, no, I think he was, like what you said, conniving and everything. He did his job. 6 championships in 8 years. I do think that if they did play the Rockets and Jordan was there, they win 8 straight. That's what I truly believe. Olajuwon would have been a problem, but I think if they sped up the game, they have that in their favor. Because the Rockets had small guards at that time. They were.
I think the only place the Rockets, no, not the Rockets, excuse me, the Bulls really failed is their recruiting was smart, but it wasn't aggressive. The recruiting was smart, but it wasn't aggressive. There was a lot of people after that first three-peat that really wanted to play with Michael. And they didn't bark at those opportunities. You know what I'm saying? I can't really name superstars because I'm not super adamant about who was playing in the NBA and who was in their heyday. There's a lot of players they could have had. Granted, there was competition, but they didn't bite when it was their chance.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And that's and not just that when it comes to Jerry Krause. It's more so you want to take credit for everything that's going on. You want to take credit for the 63 points Mike might have scored in the game, which he actually did in real life. You want to take credit for that. You want to take credit for the fact that Scottie's one of the best two-way player of all time. It's not up for debate. Yeah. You want to take credit for recruiting Tony Kukoc. You want to take credit for that, which is understandable because you did play a big part in that play. But you trying to take credit for everything was also the reason that the team was destructive. Michael Jordan said it at the tail end of the Last Dance. Could we have won another championship? I feel like we could have, but the fact that we didn't get to try, it hurts, you know. And Michael Jordan's got to live with that for the rest of his life. Rest in peace, Jerry Krause, But the fact still stands. You destroyed a championship caliber team for absolutely no reason. You may have your own reasonings, but on the outside looking in, why would you separate Scottie Pippen, Steve Kerr, Michael Jordan, Tony Kukoc, Ben Cartwright? I believe he was playing with them at the time, and just many an all-star. Why?
Well, I got a question. I got a question.
Yeah.
Was it Jerry Krause that actually destroyed the Bulls, or was it Phil Jackson?
I think it's a mixture.
Because remember that the last part of the last part of the finale of episode there, where Jordan said he has no idea idea why they didn't keep it together for one more year, and that Reinsdorf, the owner, asked Jordan to stay on another year, that he was going to, or I'm sorry, that he asked Phil Jackson to stay on another year. And that whole thing, but Phil Jackson said, no, it wouldn't be fair to Krause. And he said, I'm walking away. And Jordan wasn't going to play with anybody else.
But Phil Jackson.
But Phil Jackson. And Phil Jackson, if Phil Jackson would have stayed, Jordan would have stayed.
But
if Jordan would have stayed, Scotty probably would have stayed. Now, you would have had to pay Scotty, because Scotty was highly underpaid, and Portland was throwing money at him like crazy. But Dennis Rodman would have stayed. Now, you could have picked up some B-level stars to come in to kind of help fill that role. But really, I'm kind of thinking Phil Jackson blew that thing up.
I think Phil Jackson already had the Laker job. I think he already had it. They were losing. Like, it was, especially with his relationship with Jeannie Buss, I think he already had the job. They were just saying, hey, this is basically, I think it was Del Harris at the time. Hey, this is your last year. We need to get Kobe going and Shaq going. And think about it. You could do one more year with the Bulls, or you could see a potential dynasty right there. So I kind of understand why Phil Jackson wanted to leave. At the end of the day, it's like kind of like what you said, how it kind of went. They offered Phil Jackson that 1 year to be another year with him, 99.
Yeah, maybe because, he would know, if with his relationship with Ginny, he would know that, they're getting Shaq. He would know that, or did they already have Shaq?
They already had Shaq.
Okay, so he would know about the Kobe and Shaq dynamic there. They had Eddie Jones at the time, who was Rick Fox. I mean, they had a made team. So maybe that is the case.
What do you think, D?
I don't necessarily think that was the case. I mean, even like Jerry Krause said, like, if you get an 82-0 season, like,
right.
That's literally the defining moment in this whole situation. Like, even if you get an 82-0 season, that means you did not lose one game. One game. That means you don't lose no games, bro. Like,
yeah, but the owner is the one that said, Reinsdorf was the one that made the call. He was gonna go over Krause.
It's not really going over Krause.
Okay, hold on. That's to be understood, but at the same time, it's like you have to. If the whole team fell apart, and Michael says, "I'm not playing without Phil," and Phil's talking to this person, and this person's talking to Phil, there's so much miscommunication going on. Who's to really blame? Jerry Krause gets the blame, I personally believe, because he said, and before he died, he was the bad guy. That's how I personally feel. As far as Jerry Reinsdorf and Phil, I can understand your point 100%, because if I know this team's gonna fall apart because of Jerry Krause, and Jerry Krause is saying this, and I'm Phil Jackson, I'm gonna be looking for another job as soon as I hear that. He realized that he can get a job with Kobe and Shaq. Bam, he leaves. Michael Jordan does it. I don't know if did he retire or did he keep playing?
He retired.
Retired, and then he came back.
Then he came back with the Wizards because he thought he was going to get a part ownership with the Wizards.
Yeah.
Yeah, just with that whole situation, I just feel like the biggest factor as far as like that last three-peat was concerned after the last championship, the third and final one, the biggest issue was miscommunication. There wasn't enough talk going on with the players as far as the owners are concerned. And I feel like that's the same thing when LeBron left Cleveland and went to the Lakers, his last round. He did not like the front office. And a lot of people don't understand when it comes to the NBA that the front office and the GM and the assistant coach and the coach, like, they play a big part as to why players leave.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's why I think KD went to Brooklyn, I think he went to Brooklyn because he didn't like the way the front office was putting up Steph Curry as the savior of Golden State, and he's over here thinking, hey, if I played, we'd have another championship. And I think that's why he left to go to Brooklyn.
I think one, you're right. Remember when they won the first his first championship, his first year that they won the championship. During the parade, the front office, I forgot his name, but he said thank you for everybody except KD. Like, wait, bro. They say that, like, I read someone. Oh, it was Shannon Sharp. He said that Steph Curry is better than KD. And I'm like, wait, whoa. Wait a minute. Let's step back here. First, they could shoot around the same as far as each other. Like, KD could shoot from 40. Steph Curry could probably shoot from 45 to 50, but around the same. But when you say that, I can't put Steph Curry above KD as just a player. I think they had the system they had in Golden State here in the Bay Area was obviously a lot better than what they had in OKC because it was just scrambled. And think about it, they lost James Harden over $4 million total dollars. $4 million total dollars. Like, I don't know. What are your takes on that of what Shannon Sharp said about Steph Curry being better than KD?
Me?
Yeah.
I think it's outlandish. I mean, I know the reason why he's saying it because Steph Curry's more of a team player, but Steph Curry can also handle adversity. He can handle things better than KD can outside of basketball. But as far as like KD going to OKC, KD going to Golden State, like, and him feeling like he's not, you were never the number one man.
Yeah.
You were never the number one man. I don't give a fuck if you go out there and you get them 17 championships. Steph Curry's the man. He brought the first ring. That's like
they already have the winning culture.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Thank you. That's like me getting married 6 times and being mad that, oh, I remember your first wife. Why you keep bringing her up? Bro, you've been married 6 times. Like, why are you upset that I brought up your first wife? Like, that's literally what that's an example of. It makes no sense. Why are you upset? You went to another man's team. This team beat you in a 3-1 lead. You had a 3-1 lead, and you lost. And you let Draymond Green, donkey Shrek looking ass, take you over there. And then you got upset when you got there. You should have never went there in the first place. There's only 2 places KD should have went when he was in his free agency. He either should have went to Boston or the Washington Wizards, and he didn't pick either of those options. He went to a team that was already established and set up. And KD said it himself, I went there because I got tired of being the main man. But if you look at how KD was playing when he was with OKC from 2012 up until he left, it was him and Russell Westbrook. And everybody knows Russell Westbrook is a dominant point guard. He takes control of the floor, and he's an ISO player.
Mm-hmm.
So for you to be upset at the way that he's playing, you could have went to a different team. You chose to go to a team because you wanted the easy way out. You don't want to worry about nothing but basketball. And that's the atmosphere that Golden State created. I don't want to hear KD complaining.
Let me ask you this. You talk about Westbrook like a dominant in point guard and all that. You don't see that in Kyrie Irving?
No.
Kyrie Irving's a cancer.
Because he's just it's like
Kyrie
people
Irving,
play for Russ.
He's not as dominant though. Kyrie Irving, he is a great guy if you don't put the focus on him. The moment you put the focus on him, he's gonna either go down injured, he's gonna start complaining, he's when he was the main guy in Cleveland before LeBron came back.
They're horrible.
That team was garbage.
Lottery.
Then when he went to Boston, he went to a winning Boston, and that team suffered. That team was garbage. They couldn't piece together wins at all.
They almost went to the finals without him.
He regressed. Jason Tatum and who's the other guy?
Jaylen Brown.
He regressed them because he wanted the attention on him, but he's not that guy.
Yeah.
To me, he's a CP3 type. Now, I think CP3 can fit in better systems. I think he's a better distributor. However, he's a CP3. He's going to complain. He's going to argue. He wants to be the face, even though he's not. He doesn't have the face talent anymore.
Now, Mr. Ortiz, when you say CP3, what era of CP3 are you talking about?
I'm talking about the latest CP3.
The latest CP3. No. Because the CP3 you're referring to, from my recollection, is the CP3 in Houston. And any player that's played in Houston, you got to look at who he's playing with. Before he left, he was playing with James Harden. And anybody knows when it comes to James Harden, when he left OKC and he went to Houston that first year, 63 points, 55 points, 40 points, 30 points, 30 points, 17 assists, 17 points, 50 assists. Like the boy was going off that whole entire year. So, okay, James Harden, couple years go by, Trevor Ariza leaves. Okay, a couple more players coming to, boom, stop. Wait a minute. Chris Paul comes in. It's him and Chris Paul. James Harden don't really feel how Chris Paul is playing because Chris Paul is what? A true point guard. And how many of those do we have in the NBA?
Not very many.
Not very many. So when you got one, he's a lone wolf surrounded by a whole bunch of other cats who are doing everything that a point guard don't really do because at some point it went from Allen Iverson became the template for a point guard from like 2002 to like 2016. Point guards are now kind of, coming back to a true point guard status, but it's different now. So when you see Chris Paul being a true point guard and you're shooting, what position does James Harden play?
He's a two guard.
He's a combo.
I can play the one.
So if you're the point guard, that's supposed to be your go-to man. If your go-to man is ball dominant and you're a true point guard, that's automatically going to be confliction. Then you got the Carmelo situation going on. So it's like a revolving door of constant negativity. He wasn't going to win in that situation anyways.
Yeah, but he also struggled.
Chris Paul, go ahead.
He struggled in LA too because he had issues with Blake
and DeAndre.
He had issues with the coach Doc. And that's just who he is because CP3 has the same mentality like a Kobe or a Jordan. He wants to win. But the problem is he's not as I don't want to say skillful because he's incredibly skillful. He just doesn't have that. Yeah, he doesn't have that full dominance. And he's incredible player. I would take CP3 on this LA team right now, definitely.
Oh my!
Of course, 100%.
The Lakers need a point guard. But
yes.
I'll tell you what. He destroys teams because of his attitude because he thinks he's far better than what he really is. And that's why I say that about him in regards to who's the guy we were initially talking about. I don't know why I jumped on Kyrie. I said the same thing because Kyrie sees himself as this transcendent star. But he's never really been that except for in the shadow of LeBron.
Yeah. Now, Devon, I know Kobe's your guy. That's why I'm wearing it right here. You know what I'm saying?
My boy.
So let's talk about Kobe with your favorite Kobe moment.
Man, I've got so many Kobe moments. But if I'm going to narrow it down to one Kobe moment.
Top 5.
Okay, top 5. Okay. Number 5, definitely I have to put this. When Kobe dunked on Dwight Howard, baptized him. The fact that he had his legs wrapped around, I mean, Dwight Howard probably liked it, but he has his legs wrapped around him on that dunk. That was amazing. Just to see him just demolish this young kid who was swatting everyone away. Because remember, at this time, Dwight Howard was killing the boards. He was killing the blocks. Yeah. And to see Kobe Bryant come into him and just take that.
He split a double team, too. He split it and then dunked on him. That was I think
That-
was that a preseason game? Yeah, it was at UNLV. I think.
No, I think it was a regular season game. It was in Orlando.
Oh, it was. I'm thinking that other dunk that he had.
No, that was over. Who was that over? I forgot who that was over.
That was
But, yeah, that was
year. That was Kobe's rookie year. He did that.
Yeah, that was sick.
That was a baptized too.
He's had a few. He's had a few of them that were just nasty. Number 4 has to be when he swatted Yao Ming. People don't draw this one up a lot, but I remember when this is when Kobe and T-Mac were kind of going at it, and Houston was up by, I want to say 7 or 8, and Kobe went on a barrage of scoring, but he stopped Yao Ming from hitting his little Yao hook and came up, and I've never seen Kobe this aggressive on defense, because he went from guarding T-Mac to running down because he had Kwame Brown guarding Yao Ming. And so he goes over there and he kills Yao Ming's block. And I remember watching it. I was at a pizza place watching it with some of my friends, and I got up and my wings fell all over the place. I was so excited. I was like, yeah, get up. He was just nasty.
Yeah.
Number 3 would probably be when after Kobe got clotheslined by Rajah Bell.
Oh, I remember that series. Rajah Bell.
Man, that was a mean clothesline. That boy came through like a wrestler.
That whole exchange between Kobe and Rajah Bell and the Suns, I loved that. But in the midst of that whole thing, when the way that Kobe came back at him, and if I'm not mistaken, it was that game that he hit the game winner on him.
Right.
Where there was the fumble and Kobe brings it down to the free throw line and hits it right there.
He forced overtime, and then that's when he hit that game winner debacle thing at the buzzer to win the game in overtime. Yeah.
And Rajah Bell, his face, if you watch the video and they show his face, Rajah Bell looks like he just got the biggest butt whooping he's ever received in his life, because his face just kind of dropped down and he was just like, oh, man. And I loved it. Oh, I loved it so much, because I couldn't stand Rajah Bell because I was such a hardcore Laker fan.
Right.
Number 2 would have to be it's an old school one where, probably early, maybe 1999, maybe early 2000, where Kobe's driving down in Portland and he breaks Scottie Pippen, and he comes down and does the floater, and Shaq comes out of nowhere and just drops it on him.
I remember that.
And then Shaq comes down and looks at his hand and like, look, what did I do?
Yes, there's a poster of that. I remember that play.
Oh, man.
I remember I was in college, and I remember watching that, and I'm thinking, this is crazy. This is when we started to realize that this dynamic was something special. Like the fact that, Shaq, I think Shaq was dominating that game, but I think he had some issues with foul trouble. I may be mistaken. It may be a different game, but I remember they were struggling, and Kobe comes through, breaks Scottie. Scottie looked like he had no idea where he's going. Now we know Scottie's a defensive player. Breaks Scottie, drives in, and that little loved it. Oh, and then my number one play is when it was back when the Lakers were playing Orlando for the championship, and remember where he used to do this that weird grinding of his teeth and it wasn't a play in particular, but it was a stretch where Kobe went and just dominated after, Hito Turkoglu was going off and all these guys were going off. Kobe just took control. And between him and Powell, they completely dismantled the Orlando Magic. And I remember sitting there. I was watching it with my father-in-law. My father-in-law is not a basketball guy, and he knows Kobe just by name. And he was like, "Oh yeah, I see why you like Kobe." And just that recognition that this is why I like him, because he just takes over games. And that moment has always resonated with me. It's not everyone's favorite moment, because most people like the Boston moments where he's going up against KG and all that stuff. For me, I love when he took control, because the Boston moment, I didn't think he was that great when he played against Boston. I think he struggled.
That was a tough defensive team.
It was, and Powell and Ron Artest really were the key to that. But Orlando was pure Kobe.
Yeah.
And Orlando was a good team. They were Jameer Nelson, he could ball out. Turkoglu can ball out. Rashard Lewis can shoot the lights out. I mean, they had a team. And then Dwight Howard, of course.
And they had Victor Oladipo.
No.
That's right. They had not at the time. He was he?
They had Victor Oladipo around that time, I believe.
They had JJ Redick.
No, they had the other.
There we go. I'll get them confused. They both.
The other dark dude. He was the dark skinned dude. What was his name? He was.
Bat.
He was really good.
Did they have Bat at the time?
No. What was his
Tony
name? I'm gonna look it. No. I'm gonna look it up right now.
Luol Deng, is it?
No. He went on to be good, but I think he got hurt. And I think he got hurt. Let me see. What is it?
Starts with it. I think it starts with an N.
He's got a. Come on.
Because I think he was like a super sought after draft pick. I think the dude you're talking about.
Yeah, he was really good defensively. Oh man, this is bothering me that I can't find him. I think he had an African name. I forgot what it was.
Keon Dooling. Dooling was on that team.
No, I wasn't Dooling, because Dooling's a guard, isn't he?
Yeah.
What year was it? 2012, right? No, 2010, right?
2016? No, 2014?
2009, they beat the Lakers lost in 08 to his Celtics, then beat the Magic in 09, and then 2010 they beat the Celtics. Yeah,
I'm looking it up right now. 2009. Let me see the starter, the roster.
Tony Battle or Tony Batiste?
No.
He was a big guy.
Michael Petrus. It's Michael Petrus.
There he is. That's the man.
Michael Petrus. I remember Michael Petrus. Michael Petrus was oh my God, that boy was a defensive nightmare.
He was
Michael Petrus.
Two-way. Because he could shoot too.
He was Luol Deng before Luol Deng.
He made Kobe work for every single one of those shots, and then he would go off Kobe and play Ron Artest. I mean, he had a tough, not a Ron Artest. I'm sorry. He played for Houston. Ariza. He was playing both of these guys and doing an amazing job. And but still, Kobe's Kobe, and he's gonna take over, and that was my favorite moment. I loved it.
Right. Now let's position to 1 through 16. What do you think about the playoffs being the top 16 teams? And I'm hearing it's going to be in Orlando, in Florida. What are your thoughts on that?
Did they say how they're going to break up the seeding? Is it going to be? Are they going to do top
16 teams, and it's going to be 1-16. They're going by record, not by East or West. That's what they're talking about.
If they do that, then the NBA is trying to set up LA versus LA.
Yes. Let me bring that up real quick, okay?